one I'm going to make is shrimp Fra Diavolo, which is shrimp of the devil. In other words, a little spicy. Okay, the shrimp, these are 16-20 peeled in the vein, and I take the tail off. Because when you're mixing it in a pasta, I don't know about you, but I hate tails. You don't hate the tail. Then you gotta sit there and fight with it. Yeah, sometimes it looks pretty, but I don't know anybody who eats tails myself. So I always yank the tails off. What I do is I get a little bit of crushed red pepper and just sprinkle a little bit. If you like it hot, sprinkle a lot. Again, it's your own taste. And you want to season the shrimp again. And pretty much stir it up. Watch the salt because the shrimp are a little bit salty. You may not want to put too much salt in it. You can always add salt. I'm just going to use straight olive oil. And I don't use $20 bottle of virgin olive oil because all it does is burn. It's good for salad dressing, not for cooking. I know they always say olive oil on TV, but they're not really using olive oil. They're using a blend. That's the sound you want, not like the last time. After about half done right now. And once they turn pink, they're pretty much done. You are going to put these back in a sauce, so you don't really have to cook them completely through. You're making a scampi where you're just going to add butter and white wine to it. You can almost cook them all the way through, but you're really just finishing a sauce right in the pan. But I'm going to remove these once they're done in order to make the sauce. When you have a flame, you can do this, but as soon as I do this, it asks me where the pan is. The induction burner. You have a lid to help steam them a little bit, so it takes a little less time. Shrimp you can do a bunch of different ways. I mean, there are so many shrimp dishes. Like I said, scampi, you can do just on skewers on your barbecue during the summertime. They cook real fast. And the only thing you do, if you are using wooden skewers, make sure you do soak your skewers in water so you don't set them on fire inside the barbecue. Which I've done a couple times. You can soak them, they still, your barbecue's very hot, they don't, just a touch hot. Now we're going to put the shrimp. Like I said, most of them are cooked. That guy. You don't want to cook. Now we're going to make the sauce. And I don't want to, you don't want to wash that pan or start with a new pan because you got all that good stuff right there. They'll be scraping in a few seconds. And now it's just going to give this. And the shrimp took up most of the juice. I may just put a little more oil in there. Again, you can use butter if you want. And let this cook just a few seconds. The onions will take a little longer to cook than everything else that's done in there. And then I use fresh tomatoes. You can use a canned tomato with the juice. I would drain as much juice as you can. These are Roma tomatoes, so I left the seeds on. They're very small. If you use regular tomatoes, you may want to de-seed them. If you don't care about de-seeding them, I don't care either. Whatever you guys want to do. So this will, what we do about the Roma tomatoes, they'll break down a little bit, and they'll kind of create a little bit of a sauce. You don't really want tomato sauce. You want to, it's almost a fresh, quick looking dish. Again, it doesn't take very long. Very quick dishes. In the recipe it says add pepper and cheese pepper because I'm going to wait a minute or so. Add some white wine to enhance the tomatoes and the sauce. And try to use actual real white wine if you can. Don't use cooking wine or glorified vinegar. which is cooking wine. You want to use something, I'm not saying you have to use a $30 bottle of wine, but it's so much better if you use regular wine. And usually not a real sweet wine, unless you're making like a chicken Zinfandel. You want to use, specifically want to use Zinfandel in a sauce, or a port wine with a little salts, sweeter. You just have to look at what you're making and try to think, is that going to taste, but you can experiment and see the different things. And you can see it's now starting to make a sauce, it's starting to reduce, starting to get thicker. You can see that or not. Now I add chili peppers, and I cut them into pieces, and I take the seeds out, so it isn't really hot. They're not really that hot anyway. But you could use. I mean, I've seen them in the dish whole, so just the stem cut off and whole. So again, you can do it any way you like. This will make the dish a little tangy. If you want, you can add a little Tabasco. Again, for people that like it smoking hot. I mean, we have a couple customers here that like Chef Yan, and they like sriracha on it. I recommend you don't use sriracha. It's a little bit too hot. A little bit of Tabasco doesn't hurt. I won't put any on, but it is there. And again, you can even put more of this in there if you like. The crushed red peppers. Okay, the sauce is nice thick. I'm going to put the shrimp back in and the juices. Okay, this is when you have to show your talent. Toss it and not get it everywhere, which I just did. Twice. Okay. Now what you're doing is trying to get the juices on the shrimp so actually the shrimp tastes like the sauce. And last but not least, I have some fresh basil that we put in there. If you don't have to use fresh basil, you could use dry basil if you want. Some people put oregano in. I like just the fresh basil. And I have Italian parsley here too. Italian parsley is just flat leaf parsley. It's not cilantro, but it looks like cilantro. It has a little bit. It has actually some flavor than regular old parsley. Just make sure it's hot. I made enough here. I served it with a little bit of penne pasta. And again, it's not a dish that's like you used to like marinara style spaghetti. It doesn't.